What up, YouTube Digital? You know, I get a lot of shit for a lot of things. I get a lot of shit for the status quo crap of, I'm not going to sit here and talk about the overthrowing of fucking anything because if you use your brain, you would realize that first off, we're not doing any worse off than we were in the 80s. Financially. Sure, we owe more money, but you know what? That's our own fucking problem. Stop putting our problems on the government. One, you voted for the cocksuckers. Two, I mean, here's something that I just loved, because here's a guy that said some shit on a Joe Rogan show that I just love, because this is the same thing I've been saying for a long time now, but people are more worried. Oh, Ron Paul.
And he's sitting in court, and he knows he has nothing to worry about because he's paid off the whole jury. And they've realized that he's paid off the jury. So at the last minute, right before the verdict is read, the judge dismisses all the jury members and brings in all the alternates and screws up the whole thing, because now all of a sudden, instead of a corrupt jury, you have one that hasn't been bought off. The way our government is set up is designed to keep radical change from happening. It doesn't turn over all at once. And there's a seniority system, so that let's say you elected a third of the Congress as new people, not corrupt. They're part of you have the Tea Party thing now. Imagine instead of the Tea Party, you had an anti-corruption movement that was able to bring in a whole bunch of new Congress people, and their whole shtick is that we're non-corrupt, we're not going to vote for any of this corruption. The first thing that's going to happen is they're going to be told to sit in the back of the room and shut up till they have seniority. When you're here 2 or 3 terms, we'll maybe give you a committee position. If you show that you're going to play ball, we'll let you run the committee. I mean, there's this whole system where you don't get to be influential until you've proven you're a good corrupt official for a long time, and you're not allowed to overthrow the entire government at once. You have to go in there, and then you're still going to have John Kerry and John McCain and all those guys running the show while you're in the back, if you're lucky, getting a chance to give a speech on C-SPAN in front of an empty congressional room because all of your compatriots are out fundraising. Do you know that they have phone banks right off the congressional property, because you're not allowed to fundraise on government property? So they've built these phone banks like 1 foot off government property, and they go in there and they cast their vote, and then their aides take them right to the phone banks and they start the fundraising. 80% of their time is spent fundraising. And they don't want to do this. I should say that some of these guys, Peter DeFazio is a congressman from Oregon. He didn't run for Senate because he said, I'm already fundraising more than my conscience will allow, and if I become a senator, I have to do even more of that. So there are some good people in there. They're just, I think, outnumbered, 85% to 15 or something like that.
So their fundraising is essentially just person-to-person phone?
So basically, yeah, it's the shit that I've been talking about, that everybody keeps worrying about the president, and that's why Wikipedia had to make an article about the longest serving representatives, and you're looking at some, and they cut off the list at 35 years or something like that. Look up, like, in Google, look up longest serving Congress or something like that, and you'll see that wiki article. And you'll see that these motherfuckers were in office for, like, Ted Kennedy was in office for 40 years before he died. What took him out of office? He died. Now, did he help Clinton expand the Fair Housing Act? Yes. Did he help Carter set up the free phones? Yep. And it's, the shit that gets passed around today, and I love it because I keep seeing it on different of these so-called freedom fucking websites that don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They'll see shit, and then they'll spread it around like it's true, and stuff like that. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. You know, the free phones and all that other bullshit. Those free phones have been around forever. I know my mom had one. It was a standard welfare thing you got. It was just like the monthly fucking welfare check and the food stamps. You know. And then you could take your food stamps down to Chica's and fucking sell them for, you know, I think he was getting 40 cents on a dollar? Something like that. If you knew, otherwise he's doing like 25 cents on a dollar. But anywho, you know, the government, first off, you're not going to overthrow it. They'll just kill you. Okay? The other thing is you're going to disrupt the normal people's lives, and they're not going to have that. The other thing that people don't realize and they don't think about is that, okay, they bring up gun haters all the time. Okay, let's talk about gun haters for a second. A new government or not, those people will still be gun haters. Okay, so how are you going to win against a gun hater? Well, before it wasn't needed. We didn't need to win against the gun haters because we had plenty of gun owners. We don't have the gun ownership that we used to have because a lot of people quit hunting and all that other stuff. Okay, so what do? Okay, well, now a lot of people think that, you know, protesting and everything is all the rage and everything else. Well, let me clue you in on something. This is to the marijuana people too. You know, you can look at this, and the gun people, the government, anti-government establishment, whatever. It didn't work in the 60s. It's not going to work today. Okay? No. You kill them by getting more on your side. You know, there's a consensus right now that thinks the right side is the racist side. Now, if you look at history, that's incorrect. The Democratic Party was the one that started the KKK. The Democratic Party was the one that wanted slavery. The Democratic Party was not Lincoln. Okay? And we could keep on going all the way down to every civil rights bill that was ever passed, except for one, after JFK's death. Every civil rights bill ever passed throughout the history, and if people want to go to the Library of Congress and go look this up themselves, they go walk their happy ass on over there. But throughout history, the Democratic Party has gone against civil rights, you know, innings of segregation, and all that other bullshit. Matter of fact, who I think was the last real Republican, I say Reagan was the last great Republican. He wasn't a true Republican, but he was a great Republican. The last real Republican, I would probably say, was Ike. Good old Eisenhower. And Eisenhower was the motherfucker that sent the troops to Arkansas after Arkansas Democrats tried to use their National Guard on their own people. And Ike said, excuse me, fuck you what? Fuck you. I'm commander and fuck you chief. And I command you fuck you to stand out in front of those schools and let those African Americans in. Now, people like to say JFK was a very civil rightsy type person as a Democrat. He was bullshit. Okay? A guy that is so-called civil rights would not openly allow his brother, Robert, to follow Martin Luther King around, call him a communist, and give, what's his name, Hoover, is it Hoover? Hoover? At the time, whoever was head of the FBI, the right to wiretap him 24/7 for years. Okay? That's not civil rights. Okay? No. That tells me two things. Either they were fooling him, or they were making sure a backdoor deal was being upheld. And by backdoor deal is, by the time JFK came around, it was pretty well known throughout the United States that civil rights are here. They're not stopping them anymore. The Democrats down south are not stopping them anymore. Okay? They're not. They're not going to stop. We're not going back to slavery. We're not going back to cotton picking and all that other bullshit. Okay? So they had to come up with a plan, and the plan was to fool the minorities. See, and I got into this little tidbit later in my life when I had several run-ins with the Democratic Party because of my name. And because of my name, I had, like, this African American who came to my house twice during this last election trying to get me to vote for Obama. Now, I looked at this guy and said, dude, we're not Democrat. Okay? And he looked at me like I was the white devil. And I looked at him and I said, I think, because this guy was about 60, 70-ish, gray hair, stuff like that. And I looked at him and I said, I think you should be old enough to know the truth. I think you should be old enough to realize that it wasn't the Democrats that came down and set you free and allowed you to vote and allowed you to be counted as a person and allowed women to vote and allowed, I don't think we should even have this conversation. And he looked at me and walked off. Okay, brainwashed. Fuck you. You're an idiot. People need to stop this whole bullshit and bring up facts. Okay? If people want to argue, the Republicans are real fucking racist. Okay. First off, you cannot change voting history of the Congress and the House. They try to filibuster and everything else. And it's all there. Now, I want to say that the Democratic Party was pretty much almost completely wiped out. But then they got smart. And this is where JFK came in. Because they got smart when they realized that the new America was more a marketing platform than anything. You can promise anything. Doesn't mean you're going to give it to them. But they'll believe it. Marijuana. Immigration. Lower taxes. Lower interest rate. Lower deficit. Lower this. Lower that. But they also figured out that they've been the party that's consistently picked a very young candidate to run for president. And why have they done that? To be closer to the American public. And make them believe because these guys are young, they must be cool. Clinton played the sax. Now I give him credit for that. But Clinton also let Osama bin Laden and Saddam keep playing around for the 8 years he was in office, which allowed 9/11. I'm sorry to people who want to blame Bush for 9/11, but a president that was in office for less than, September, so when did they come in office? February to September? I'm sorry, they didn't plan 9/11 that fast. Okay, I'm sorry. And no, it was not an inside job. Okay, I've been construction, I know better. I know what jet fuel does, I know what metal fatigue does, I know what happens with metal when you get it too hot and you anneal and all that other bullshit. Okay, I know better. It was not an inside job. I don't give a fuck about the phosphorus. And most of the people don't realize that most of New York is like fucking San Francisco. It's built on trash. And then on top of that, they got shit underneath those goddamn buildings like fucking subway systems and shit. If one goes down, or two go down the side of the World Trade Centers, it's going to fuck up other buildings, okay? Okay. Well, how did fires start? Broken pipes, maybe? I don't know. Drop 2 fucking 70-story whatever buildings down and see what happens. But anywho, off topic. You know, now people are all on this fucking militia trip again and all this other bullshit. And you don't realize that, first off, it ain't gonna happen. Secondly, you're gonna get slaughtered. Then you're gonna make look like fucking shit asses for the rest of your life. If you ask some of this common folk about Ruby Ridge, and they're going to say that guy was a nutcase. If you ask the same thing about Waco, they're going to say that guy was a nutcase. And he was a nutcase. There's no questions about it. No questions that he was raping kids. No questions that... I mean, Jesus Christ, they could have let those fucking kids go. Come on. But they didn't. If you loved your child that much, okay, maybe get in a firefight with FBI or whatever, but you let your fucking kids go. Shit's on fire now. That's crazy, people. Alright? My house on fire? First one out that fucking window is my daughter. Second one's my wife. And then, I'm taking out the whole fucking wall so I can walk out. Because I don't climb through windows anymore. Makes me want to steal shit. But just saying. Just saying. Now this is going to be part 1. And I'm going to end it here. But there's going to be a part 2.